Yeah.
So if everyone's happy with that, because then we can share it for the people that haven't made it along. Does that make sense? Yeah.
That's great. Okay, brilliant. Well, I'll make a start then, and I will share my screen with you.
Yeah.
Can everybody see that?
Yeah.
Fab. Okay, so if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and then we will hopefully have some time at the end to come to those. So we're going to talk today a little bit about how you can make some quick tweaks to your website in order to make it clear to potential customers that you're actually offering takeaway during this time. So my name is Cheryl Luze. I'm the Managing Director of Wagada. So we are a digital marketing agency. We're based in that old mill just opposite Stockwell House. And we are 2 times winners of the St Albans Walking Pancake Race. That is our proudest moment. But yeah, no, we do like the pancake race every year. You're always there, aren't you, Denise?
I am, yes. Yeah, various disguises over the years. I used to be wearing a mask for Trestle Arts Face, and then it moved on to Radio Verulam. And now it's yeah.
Yeah, no, fab. So we're going to talk a little bit about search engine optimization. So this is about how you optimize your website for Google to help Google to pick it up and identify what it is that you do. So just to make it clear, we are going to be talking today about the Google ads as opposed to talking today about organic SEO, sorry, as opposed to the actual ads. So you can see there, you can see which ones are marked with ads. We're not talking at all about those. We're talking about the natural listings. So these are the organic listings that rank on Google. So as I'm sure many of you know, that really we need to be getting you on page 1 of Google. Very few people actually get as far as searching through to page 2. It is the best place to find a dead body on page 2. So there is a bit of a challenge that we have for people that work in SEO, is that lots of people think they know what SEO is, but actually it's a lot more complicated than lots of people realise. So there's so many different elements that go into search engine optimization, from technical SEO to content, to the number of links you have pointing to your website from other websites. There's a lot of factors that go into what makes you rank on Google. So it is something that is a lot more complicated than a lot of people realize. But if you're not doing it, you could be missing out on quite a lot. So it's things like you could be missing out on actually direct leads, people contacting you. You know, it's a great way to build your brand if people are finding you on Google, and to kind of raise awareness for what you do. It's also, you know, a great way to build credibility. So you can post things on your websites that allow you to demonstrate your knowledge and build credibility for what you're doing for your brand, and also to kind of get your message out to your target audience. So if you are ranking on Google and people are finding you on Google, then it's going to be much easier for you to get your messages out that you want to talk to people. So I'm going to quickly run through what search engine optimization is, just so you've got a bit of a broader understanding. In that it's based mainly over 3 things. So the first one is about relevancy. So this is about how relevant your content is to the keyword being searched for on Google. So for example, if someone puts in blue shoes, how relevant your content is to that particular term. So it's not a lot of that is about keywords. The whole relevance side is actually very easy for us to do, because we're completely in control of it, because it's all about what goes on your website. So this is what we're going to talk about today, is how to make your website more relevant to phrases such as takeaway or delivery, or whatever it is that you're offering. So the second part is about the authority of your website. So this is how authoritative Google considers your site to be. So one of the elements here is based on the age of your domain name, which is obviously not something you can necessarily control. But another of the elements for authority is based on the links you have pointing to your website. So this is other websites talking about you and linking back to you. So something like the Enjoy St Albans website, when you get a link from the Enjoy St Albans website, that gives your website a little bit of a boost, because that says people are talking about you. And Google can use those links, those kind of web of links, to work out what your sphere of influence is. So that's all a lot more difficult to achieve, because that's about getting other people to do things for you. So the last element, which is becoming more and more important as far as Google is concerned, is about the quality of your website and the quality of your content, the quality of the website, of the kind of technical side of the website, the speed of the website, how well you answer the questions people are asking, how easily people can perform the tasks on your website that you want them to, and the quality of the links. So when we're talking about people linking to you, the higher the quality of the links, the more valuable they're going to be for you. But the last kind of part that probably affects you running restaurants more than anything is that Google is also making a quality judgment about how you run your business. So Google looks at things like reviews online to see how well you are servicing your clients, your customers. So one of the things we'll talk about is Google My Business, because Google looks at that and looks at the reviews on that to kind of make a quality judgment on how well you are servicing your clients. So one of the things that we do need to do is build Google's trust. So SEO is very much about consistency and developing trust over time. The site needs to be well maintained. It needs to be engaging. So in a general sense, it's not something you do as a one-off. It's something you build on and you continue working on. But actually some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today is your quick wins. So the idea of today is I put together some quick wins that will make a big difference in the short term to you getting picked up on Google, some of these key terms. So the key thing is about making yourselves more visible. So one of the quickest way to do that is about harnessing your Google My Business profile. So presumably you've all got Google My Business profiles, or you've already used them, but if you don't, this is what it looks like. So if you put in your company name or your restaurant or your pub name, you might need to put in the location as well. So you might need to put St Albans or whatever, and it should appear on the right hand side. So you should see your Google My Business profile there appearing on the right hand side. So if you haven't claimed that, then there will be the opportunity there. It will say claim this business. So you'll be able to kind of claim ownership of the business. But hopefully you've already done that already and you already have ownership of your Google My Business profile. I mean, your Google My Business is a great way of reaching out to people during this time, because people can't visit your shop or your restaurant at the moment. They can't get to your business location. So your Google My Business will actually bridge the gap between the website and your consumer. It's your opportunity to get in front of people during this time. So it is going to be quite an important part of how you can get more traffic to your website and also get more people to buy from you. So this is how it gets displayed when someone puts a phrase in. So I've just put in takeaway St Albans, and Google will display the map, and underneath it will put the Google My Business listings that appear when you put that phrase in. And interestingly, it's very much focused it on very, very close to where I live. So it hasn't given me the central St Albans ones. It's given me the ones that are very close to where I am. So and you can see there, it's where people have the stars. It does jump out at you, and I think it can be quite powerful. Your Google My Business listing. So you can see when you put a phrase into Google that actually the page one is dominated by quite a few of the large directories and the big listings websites. So appearing on Google by My Business is actually your opportunity to be at the top of page one, because all the map listings actually appear above this. So it's definitely worth focusing on that as a starting point. And you can see here the different options that restaurants have in order to kind of show where they are at the moment during the coronavirus. So you can see that Thai Square has registered themselves as temporarily closed. Thai Rack has filled it in to say that they're not offering dine-in, but they're offering the takeaway and the delivery. And Sin's presumably is open. It's open as general sense, but not open at that point that I printed this screenshot. So you can see the different ways that you can get Google My Business to present where you are in your business at the moment. So there's lots of things you can do to enrich your Google My Business, to make it more interesting for people when they visit you, but also doing these things can help it to boost its ranking a little bit as well, and help it to appear higher on the map listings, because Google will think that anyone that's enriching their listing on a regular basis, that it is definitely worth showing that to the consumer. So you can add lots of lovely images of your food, but I'd also put some nice images of your team as well. I think people like to see the people behind the business. So you can put in, there's a new attribute that you can put in the coronavirus that says whether you're offering takeaway or not. So I definitely would make sure everybody has done that. You can add events, you can add news, you can add posts to say that you're offering takeaway and kind of entice people with those, talk about the sorts of things that you're offering. There's a lovely questions and answers feature where you can even go in and ask and then answer your own questions. So if you've got people that are asking you questions on a regular basis, such as do you have parking, can you deliver, those sorts of questions, then you can actually ask and answer those. Unfortunately, not all of those are working at the moment because of the coronavirus. Google has taken some of those off, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Just check that you're registered under the correct category when you go into your Google My Business profile, and check your address. It's really important that your address is absolutely consistent across the web. So you'll need to make sure that the address that appears on Google My Business absolutely exactly matches the address that you've got on your website and the address that appears in other listings. So reviews are really key, and this is one of the things that Google looks at, but also your consumers will very much look at reviews. I'm sure you're all highly aware of this. The stars really do stand out, and I think people do notice them. So they do make people want to click through to your site or click through to your listing. And one of the things that Google likes about the reviews is that it can actually verify them. So because you have to have a Google account in order to leave a review, then Google knows an awful lot about you. So Google can actually verify and check that those reviews are real, which is one of the reasons why it places so much weight on them. So a couple of ways you can make your reviews more effective. If the person leaving the review can get a keyword in the review. So say you're a Thai restaurant and the person leaving the review says, oh, great Thai food or something along those lines. That is obviously better for you. Obviously, it's not very easy to influence the review, and I certainly want to encourage you to get people to leave fake reviews. But if you can somehow encourage people to leave review, maybe you can say to them, can you leave us a review and talk about how you enjoyed the food or how you enjoyed this particular dish? That will certainly help you. And the other thing you need to do is respond to each review. So when someone leaves you a review, as quickly as you can to respond to that review. There is some evidence that if you can respond to reviews within an hour, then that does give you a bit of kudos with Google that you're kind of on the ball and you're looking after your review profile. So during the coronavirus, Google is struggling a little bit to keep up to date with the changes people are bringing in with Google My Business. So lots of the functionality is not working. So you may find that posts are not working for you. So I don't know whether you can read this at the bottom, but I will send the slides around anyway afterwards. But if you operate a restaurant and you find that the posts aren't working, so one thing you can do is that if you want to obviously make it clear to people that you're offering takeaway or delivery service, is that you can add that to the end of your pub or restaurant name. So you can put something like takeaway available. So normally Google wouldn't like you doing this because it looks a bit spammy. It kind of makes it, it looks like you're trying to trick it a little bit. But actually Google has made an announcement that it is happy for you to do that. So I would recommend that if you are offering takeaway, that you add to the end of your restaurant or pub name in Google My Business that you're offering takeaway. But I would make sure that once the coronavirus is all over, I would remove that again at that point because in normal circumstances, Google wouldn't like you to be using that field in order to advertise your services. There's a link here, so when we share the slides, you can have a look, and it just tells you some of the functionality that's not working in Google My Business. It's quite interesting because not all accounts are the same. So we manage quite a few different accounts for clients, and some of them do look like this when you go in and it says very clearly that Google My Business has only limited functionality, and others there seems to be more functionality available. So you don't necessarily know what you're going to find when you go in there and what you can tweak. But you can see on the left that Google has given you the opportunity there to update people of what's happening during COVID-19. You can update your business hours, and you can put a post in to say what you're doing, are you open, what you're offering during the coronavirus crisis. So a couple of things that you can do to keep your My Business up to date is to update your menu. So if you've changed your menu because now you're offering takeaway, you can go into Google My Business and update it with a new menu. You can also add in what they call attributes. So you can tell people what you're offering. So whether you're offering eat-in or takeaway or delivery, etc. So that's definitely worth doing so people know what they can get from you. There's a link at the bottom there which just shows you how you can go about updating your Google My Business profile during the coronavirus. So I'd have a little look at that to get more information. There are other ways of getting onto page 1 of Google. As you remember, a lot of page 1 is dominated by large listings, big listings companies, and you know, things like Deliveroo. So one of the websites that quite often comes up top is TripAdvisor. So just to make sure that you've got an up-to-date listing on TripAdvisor, you can see there you can put in whether you're offering delivery and takeaway. So definitely make sure that you filled that field in to let everybody know, because you will find that that is potentially going to rank higher. The TripAdvisor listing is going to rank higher potentially than your own website sometimes. And then also look at the reviews on TripAdvisor and see if you can get some of your customers to leave you reviews. I think that's definitely worthwhile task to do, you know, during the coronavirus period. So the other thing you need to think about on your sort of when you look at how you're ranking on Google, it's also how you actually appear on Google. So you see at the bottom there, excuse me, you've got TiRack, and they actually haven't optimized the way they appear on Google. So you know, it just says welcome to TiRack. We can't see there whether they're open, they're closed, whether they're offering delivery or takeaway. There's nothing really to entice you. All it does is tell us that it's Thai food. There is more that you could do to make that a bit more exciting. There's nothing there that makes you want to click on that. So they're going to be missing out, even though they're ranking on page 1, which is fantastic. They're going to be missing out on click-throughs because people are not going to be excited or even know what they're clicking on that for. Whereas look at some of these, I mean, they're still not great, but they are a little bit better. So obviously Nono's has put in big that you can order online. They've made it clear that they're doing takeaway, and they made it clear that they're in St Albans. So that's a little bit better. So you see at the top where I've marked up the title tag. So these are the two elements that we're going to be talking about that make quite a big difference. So the bold part that appears in Google at the top is called your title tag. And that's what actually appears at the top of your page in the tab. And this is the single most important element of getting your website to rank on Google. So Google looks at that first to try and work out what the keyword is, what it is you offer. So if you're a pizza restaurant, you need to make sure that you get the phrase, you know, pizza takeaway. You need to make sure you get the town or the city that you're in. So that's your opportunity really to tell people what you do, because that's what appears on Google. So if you haven't got all the information in there, people aren't necessarily going to click on you. So the little paragraph that appears underneath, that's your meta description. So this doesn't appear anywhere on your website. It literally only appears in Google. So this is your marketing message. And lots of people don't bother to fill their meta description in, which is a bit of a shame, because that's your opportunity to get people, you know, to click on your listing on Google and to get excited by what you do on Google and click through to you. So I'm talking a little bit about keywords and how you can go about selecting the right keywords. So one of the things you need to think about is the intent of your keywords. So this is something that's become quite important to Google. So when people are making a search on Google, they have an intent behind what they're doing. So they're either, for example, looking for information. So they might be wanting to find out something they don't know. They might have a problem or a question. They might be performing a transaction. So they might be wanting to buy something. So they could be putting in a phrase such as pizza takeaway, something like that. Or they might be just navigating somewhere. So in which case they might put a company name in there. So information searches is things like, what is the best Indian takeaway in St Albans? So this is people not necessarily ready to buy at this point. They want to find the best restaurant before they make a decision on which ones they buy. It's also things like, you know, questions, how to make jacket potatoes, that sort of thing. And it's people's problems. often they search for problems in there. And then there's more of the transactional searches. So these are the people that know what they want to buy, and they're putting in that exact phrase for what they want. So takeaway St Albans, fish and chip delivery St Albans. So one thing that's quite interesting is that when you put in a phrase which implies to Google that you're trying to find the best something, Google actually, in the Google My Business profile, will actually, if you can see that there, will only show you the listings that actually have 4 stars or more. So that's another reason why it's really, really important to get some reviews on Google, and obviously get some positive reviews on Google, so that you can start to appear for those listings. So for example, if you put in just plain Indian takeaway in St Albans, Google doesn't list it by, it doesn't pull out the ones that don't have a 4-star. It will literally, it will show you all the different ones. So if you want to rank for phrases like best, then you need to be thinking about your reviews on Google and how you can improve those. So one of the things we need to make sure we're doing is to match the content to the type of the search query that people are putting in. So if someone is putting in what's the best Indian restaurant, they're looking for something slightly different to if someone is looking for, Indian takeaway delivery in St Albans. So we need to think very carefully about the content on the page and make sure that it matches what the person who is searching, what they're actually looking for and what they actually need. So if you want to rank for the phrase takeaway, Google expects to find certain things on that page. It expects you to be meeting the needs of the people searching. So you'll need to have a menu, for example, on that page, the hours that you're open. It will expect you to have provided trust signals to people. And actually, this is really important from Google's perspective, but also if you want people to buy from you, you need to kind of send out these trust signals. So it could be, for example, you could post some testimonials on that page. You could put your food standards, little icon thing on there. And that's just all reassuring to people that, that there is a reason why they should buy from you. And then also you need to think about how you can answer those questions that people are thinking when they are about to purchase some takeaway. So how are you going to deliver it? How long is it going to take to arrive? All those sorts of questions that people could be asking themselves. Is it a non-contact delivery? Will you make sure that you leave it on the doorstep rather than handing it over? If you can reassure people with all those things, then you will more likely get that piece of business than maybe if you don't do that. So you need to think about the keyword phrase that you're going to actually target. And one of the things I'd recommend is that you're very specific. Obviously, if you're a pub, it might be slightly trickier. Obviously, if you're like a pizza place, or if you're a Thai restaurant, it's a bit easier. But if you've got like a style of cuisine that you can think about, or even I suppose you could say pubs offering takeaway, that in itself could be a phrase. So think about the type of food that you're offering. Think about, are you offering takeaway? Are you offering delivery? And whereabouts are you? So your keyword phrase could be something like pizza delivery St Albans, or Thai takeaway St Albans. You could do pub delivery Welwyn, for example. Just try and make it as specific as possible. You want to mention what it is you're offering and the location, because people do want to buy, they want to buy takeaway from somewhere nearby. So they will put in a location when they're searching, or at least very much Google will identify they need to look for something nearby. So once you've identified your keyword phrase you're going to target, you can structure your content around that phrase. So so this is where you will go about putting your keyword phrase. So say you've chosen the phrase takeaway delivery St Albans. You need to make sure that you get that phrase in your title tag. So do you see there? That's where the keyword phrase appears in the tab that's on your actual page. You want to get it into the meta description. So you remember, this is what appears on Google when the listing appears on Google. And if you're creating a new page, then you can also get your keyword phrase into the URL. But I certainly wouldn't change your URL if you've already got an existing one. So only do that if you're creating a new web page and you're wanting to, you can then take the opportunity to put your keyword phrase in your URL. So other areas that you can put your either your exact keyword phrase, or it's really important that we make this natural, so you can put different versions of your keyword phrase. So you'll want to try and get it in the body of the text of the content, and in the heading of the page as well. So say we said our phrase pizza delivery St Albans, you could try and get the phrase pizza delivery St Albans in the actual page heading, because Google looks at that when it looks at how relevant the content is to the keyword phrase. And you can also get it in your image file name. So if you're uploading images to your website, when you're saving that image before you upload it, you could think about the actual file name of that image and try and get the keyword phrase in there. It doesn't have a massive difference, but actually it makes a little bit of difference, an extra signal to Google, this is what you're offering. And it just does, everything adds up basically when you're doing this. But the most important thing is to make it look natural. Obviously you want people to buy from you. If it doesn't look natural, then they're not going to buy from you. So the important areas to get your keyword are in the title tag. So these are the single most important factor. So if you're on page 2 of Google, actually just changing your title tag, particularly for a very local phrase that contains St Albans, for example, that could easily on its own push you onto page 1, which is one of the main reasons why I wanted to do this with you, because there are so many pubs and restaurants that are missing out on really easy opportunities to get onto page 1 just by making a few tweaks to their websites. If you can get the keyword phrase into your meta description, then this helps people to see what you're offering and will encourage people to click through to you from Google. You can then optimize your content, as we were just saying, make sure you get the keywords in the actual content. And this just makes you look more relevant to that topic. And have a think about some of the questions people could be asking, and think about how you can answer those questions in the content. And just make sure that you've thought about your keyword and what you're offering when you're writing that content. So one of the key things for this is that you choose a single page for each of your keyword topics. So you wouldn't go and optimize all your pages for pizza takeaway. You would choose one of your main pages, maybe your home page, maybe another page, that you would optimize for that phrase, and make sure you get the keyword in all the places. So in the title tag, the meta description, in the content, etc. So if you have more than one page optimized for the same phrase, then Google kind of doesn't really know which one to show, and it can have a bit of a negative effect. So one of the things you need to make sure is that each of your title tags is completely unique, and each of your meta descriptions are unique. So just to give an example here is an example of the Old Fighting Cocks. Their homepage title tag says the word home in it. Obviously that's a massive missed opportunity for them to rank on Google for for a phrase that actually could be helping them. So you can see they've got the title. So on the left here I've put in where what it would actually look like in Google. So it looks, it says the word home, which is not really helpful to anybody, doesn't really entice you to click on that listing, and then it just says welcome to the Old Fighting Cocks, St Albans, British oldest pub. There's no information about whether they're offering takeaway or delivery. There's nothing that makes you want to click on that, so people probably would just pass that over. So I'm just going to quickly touch on how you'd go about editing these things. I presume that lots of people have WordPress websites these days. So if you do have a WordPress website, it's really, really easy to edit your title tags and your meta descriptions. But you do have to have a plugin, an SEO plugin, in order to be able to do that. So one of the most popular ones is called Yoast. So I've just put a link on there which shows you how you can go about installing that plugin and how you can go about editing the content on there. So, but what you'll do is you go into one of your pages on WordPress, and then scroll right down to the bottom, and you can see the little Yoast module right at the bottom, and it will show you this. So it shows you the SEO title there, and it shows you the meta description. So you can see there where those little bubbles are. This is where it's been kind of automatically populated. So you can just delete all that. If you click into that box, delete all that. You can then write in what you want your title tag to be. So it could be pizza takeaway, pizza delivery, St Albans, something along those lines. I'd always get the restaurant name at the end if there's space. So you've got about 59, 60 characters, including spaces on there. But in WordPress, it will tell you how much space you've got left. but I'd always try and get the company name, the restaurant, right at the end. So that's something else that people quite often do, is they put their restaurant name at the beginning, and actually Google will look at the keywords that appear at the beginning of the title tag have more weight. So you'll want to make sure you get your important keywords at the beginning of the title tag, because chances are you're going to rank for your company name, for your restaurant name anyway. And then underneath you've got your meta description. So you can just fill in an enticing paragraph. You've got about 150 to 160 characters, including spaces in there. So that's something to help people understand what you've got to offer, where you are, and why they should buy from you, why they should click on your listing to purchase from you. If you've got Wix, it's a similar sort of thing. You go into the page, you click on the cog, there's a little thing that's called page SEO. The title is called title on search engine, and then the meta description is called page description. So it's the same sort of thing. You can go in there and you can edit those to reinforce your keywords. So just to give you a few tips, for example, another example from the Old Fighting Cocks, they've optimized their Sunday roast delivery page for Sunday roasts ordering. So obviously they've thought about that from their perspective rather than thinking about it from the customer's perspective. The customer's not going to Google Sunday roast ordering. They're going to Google Sunday roast delivery, Sunday roast takeaway, and they're also going to do that by location. So you need to make sure you get the location in there. So the ideal title tag for that page will be something along the lines of Sunday roast delivery St Albans. And actually, there's not that many people doing Sunday roast delivery in St Albans. So if they optimize their title tag for that, that would make a really, really big difference to the amount of traffic they're getting to their website and the people that they are selling to. So it is very much a mixed opportunity. The content itself is also quite short. It's not really optimized for the keyword phrase and doesn't really answer the questions people are asking. So they could reinforce that keyword by putting more content in there, enriching that, answering the questions. How do you deliver? How long does it take to arrive? There's loads of things that people could be wondering that we haven't really answered those questions in this content. And also, a lovely testimonial in there will be really convincing as well. Also, if you put in the food standards thing, just all the little things that reassure people, that make them think, actually, yeah, I'm going to buy this. This is exciting me. This is making me want to buy this. So another example from the Old Fighting Cocks is the where they're selling, because they're selling groceries at the moment, which is fantastic, but they haven't optimized the website at all for this. They've optimized it for merchandise. So there's definitely some quick wins they could do there. Grocery delivery St Albans, those sorts of phrases would work really well. They put that in the title tag. I mean, that page is quite good actually from a content perspective, but they could just enrich that a little bit with the actual keyword phrase so that Google associates that a bit more with what they actually do, and just makes the page a bit more relevant for that keyword so that Google can pick that up. So the final thing is, we were talking about trust signals. I mean, this is really, really key. People, they want to make sure they're buying from the right people when they buy online. So think about how you can reassure your potential customers and get them to trust you. So get some reviews on TripAdvisor, gather some testimonials, put those on your page. You could take some of the reviews on Google My Business and copy and paste those onto the actual page where people are buying from you. You can put your food standards rating. Make sure you're answering the questions that people could be asking. So they don't go elsewhere, because they don't have the answer to those questions. They potentially could just click the back button and go somewhere and go to another website that actually does answer the questions that they have. And also, if you can add any photos, videos, people behind the scenes, people very much buy people. And I think if you can use that page where you're talking about takeaway offering to help people to get to know you and kind of humanize a little bit more what you're doing. So a nice picture of the chef, picture of the of the kitchens, the restaurant, I don't know, just something that helps people feel that they get to know you a bit better and can therefore trust you. That will definitely improve the number of conversions and the number of sales from you. So we're coming to the end. So just a quick recap. of the things that you could be doing now in order to get more traffic to your websites and raise awareness. You can update your Google My Business with the correct information to show that you're offering takeaway. Add posts onto Google My Business to say that you're offering takeaway. Update TripAdvisor and gather reviews on there. You could either create a page on your website or use your homepage to talk about the takeaway offering, and optimize your title tags and your meta description and content to say that you're offering takeaway. Put some trust signals in there and make it clear how it all works, and basically answer those questions that people could be asking around the service offering. And that's it. Does anybody have any questions about that?
I've got one question. You don't mention anything about payment, because as a consumer, when I'm ordering takeaways from companies or restaurants who don't normally do takeaways, that's always the first question that I ask. How do you pay for it?
Well, that's interesting. I guess I hadn't really thought that the restaurants were going to be charging online, actually. But yes, I think they should say how you go about paying. I guess in my mind, people were having to phone up and order. I'm not quite sure how the restaurants are dealing with that, but
mine's all done through my website.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting.
My delivery menu is all on my website, and you can order and choose delivery slots and do full payment through the website. So it's all on there.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Which is brilliant. But lots of places don't have that. Some only take cash, some take only cards, some take both. So that's quite an important message, I think, to go.
Yes, no, I think you're right. So they should definitely put on that page how you can go about paying. Lots of people are nervous about paying in cash for things at the moment because they don't necessarily want to handle cash. So I think it does appeal to people if they can pay by card over the phone or if they can pay online. I think that's definitely important. So yeah, no, good point. Thanks, Alison.
And some are now only doing it through delivery, whereas before they weren't. So that's quite an important message as well, I think.
Oh, some people are only doing it through delivery, whereas they weren't before.
The meeting room, for example, up on Catherine Street, they'll only do it through delivery now.
Oh, really? Why is that? Is that just easier?
With contact, I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess they don't have to go out and actually drop it off. That's a really good point. Okay, fab.
Sound like I live on takeaways.
Yes. Oh,
that was very good.
Sorry, I think I muted you, Denise. I'm sorry.
Okay.
You were quite rustly, so I muted you.
You won't beat Mandy for takeaways, Alison.
Brilliant. All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming along.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was very interesting.
I'm sorry that the 20-odd people that expressed interest and signed up haven't. I guess everyone's busy at the moment. I think the problem, everyone's firefighting, and so thank you for recording it. So at least I can share it, and you can share the slides. That would be great.
Sure. Yeah. No problem. All right. I'll get that over to you. Thanks ever so much.
All right. See you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.